Hello, everyone. I am greeting. I'm here today again to discuss something very intriguing. I trust me. Today, you're going to like what I'm bringing to you. I am going to talk about Star Trek. Yes, Star Trek. I know a lot of people watching this video will be familiar with Star Trek, but they're going to be saying, what's he talking about? What about Star Trek? Well, the topic, my topic today is why Star Trek is the future of humanity and why it's going to replace religion. I say it again. The topic today is about why Star Trek is the future of humanity and why it's going to replace religion. And I'll tell you why. Stick around. Because for those of you who are not familiar with Star Trek, I would be surprised a lot of people know Star Trek. The series that aired on television for a while, for a very long time. Actually, the first episode of Star Trek aired in 1966. And this was created by a phenomenal gentleman known as Gene Roddenberry. Gene Roddenberry, for me, and that's why I am going to tell you why it is a religion and why it's going to replace religion. Gene Roddenberry is like a prophet. And I came to this conclusion later on after I watched a lot of series of Star Trek. Now, the first time I watched Star Trek, I stumbled on it and I watched it as a regular TV show. It was intriguing, but the moment I saw the content, Captain Kirk flipping the thing in his hand and asking Spock, "Where are you?" And the things that we're discussing about the stars, the whole idea. So let me break it down. Star Trek, it's about when humanity 300 years later from now was able to develop machines that could travel faster than the speed of light. So now let me give you another background. So right now, the magnanimity, the enormous size of the universe boggles our mind, and it's practically almost impossible, in fact, totally impossible to even cross our solar system with any machine that we have today, with any vehicle that we have today. The first satellite that was launched, I think it was in the 70s, barely crossed the edges of our solar system almost 50 years after, right? And to give you a little context, the nearest star to our sun, which is our star, is 4 light years away, and is the sister or the twin stars called Proxima A and B, right? And it's 4 light years away from Earth. 4 light years away. Folks, it might be only 4 light years away. But guess what? From here to that star is about what? Approximately 25 trillion miles. I say it again. 25 trillion miles approximately to go to the nearest star to us. Imagine 24 trillion, not billion, trillion miles. How on earth are we ever going to get to the nearest star to us? And that is, the nearest star to us is like, how do I say it? It's like from this finger to this finger is even too far. compared to the size of the universe. And yet, it's 25 trillion miles. Now, our own galaxy, the Milky Way, is said to be around 100,000 light years across, if I'm not mistaken. This is mind-boggling. 100,000 light years across. Imagine what kind of vehicle would take you out of our own galaxy. And guess what? We have billions and billions of galaxies. Each, and ours is not even the biggest or even any big galaxy compared to Andromeda and other galaxies, right? That are even bigger than ours. So what am I getting at? What I'm getting at is that for humanity to move forward, we had to get to a point where we discovered a means of transportation that will go faster than the speed of light. And that's the only chance that humanity has to even begin to explore the universe, to explore our own galaxy, the backyard of our galaxy, not even the further end of our galaxy. So that's where Star Trek comes in. Now you have a gentleman called Gene Roddenberry. And why do I call him a prophet? Well, folks, in 1966, there was no cell phone. There was no tablet like iPad. There was no 3D printer. There was no Siri. There was no Alexa. And there was no AI. And guess what? This guy wrote, people call it science fiction. That's an easy way to simplify it. But it's deeper than that. And that's why I call him a prophet. And that's why I say that he has set in motion things that he saw the future of humanity. And actually, to go back to what I said before, even Einstein touched on it, right? About space-time, how you can bend space, right? How you can warp space, right? Now, in Star Trek, in order to go faster than the speed of light, they came up with the warp drive, warping space as they travel, right? As they travel. And that meant that they could cover tremendous amount of distance in a short time with warp speed. And further, he also came up with trans-warp speed because he talked about the Borg. The Borg are a special species that was assimilating other civilizations. They had they were more advanced than the so-called Federation of Planets, right? That had warp speed. And they had transwarp, which was actually faster than the warp speed. And then further down, there was a group of what would I call it, civilization that came up with the split stream drive, even faster than the transwarp speed, right? See where I'm going here? What I'm saying is that Star Trek has given us a glimpse of humanity's future. Star Trek has opened a doorway for people to see what lies ahead for them. But guess what? This guy, Gene Roddenberry, saw this in 1966. How? They say it's science fiction, but remember, imagination turns to reality, right? Every product we have today started with imagination. It started in the mental, in the non-material world. in our brains, well, in our mind. I don't know if it's the brain, but it's in that imaginative stage that now materializes. So this guy was able to write about things that we didn't have yet. So I am going to go through certain things just to validate what I've been telling you. You know, a lot of things that happened in Star Trek, and people were just, taking it for granted or saying, oh, it's just science fiction. Oh, it's nothing. And they didn't attach any importance to it. And they're happening today. For example, if you look at computer AI, the AI we have today, what do we have today? We have Siri, Alexa, ChatGPT. But on Star Trek, they had the computer that told them everything. The weather outside, how long it took them to go from one place to another, and so on and so forth. The computer did that to them. Folks, remember on Star Trek, on the Enterprise or whatever, they had replicators, bro. Replicators that will replicate food. And I saw that. I'm like, even I, who was watching and seeing Star Trek from a different angle, still was baffled by that notion of seeing a machine just synthesizing meat and all that, right? What do we have today? We have 3D printing. 3D printing. Star Trek was synthesizing food and all that from thin air, right? Today, 3D printers make everything from car parts to lab-grown meat. Do you see where we're going? Do you see what these guys saw long time ago when none of this existed? And talking about iPads today, right? Captain Kirk and the people on the bridge, they had tablets that they were using when there was no tablet, for God's sake. What do you call that? And yet, when you look at the Bible and Christianity, right? They talk about their own prophets, right? And the things they did. This guy is no less than that. He actually is very phenomenal as to what he saw when they were not existing yet. It's amazing. It's really amazing. And then you have, on Star Trek, universal translators. What do you have today? Google translators, AI translators. In fact, I am getting goosebumps, guys. Do you see where I'm going with this? I hope that after watching this video today, a lot of people will start making that connection, so that next time you watch Star Trek, you begin to understand that it is not just a show. It is a blueprint for humanity's future that we're seeing, that was laid down or was foreseen by someone, and it's now becoming a reality. Now, let me talk about why I think that Star Trek will replace religion. Yes, I know people are like, what is he talking about? Star Trek replacing religion? Now, hear me out. Hear me out. Okay, now you see, Gene Roddenberry saw things that were not there. You may call it, you may name it the way you want, but it's deeper than that. It's more spiritual. It is actually very spiritual. It is actually it's out of this world. He wasn't just an ordinary person. Not all of us see that type of vision, if I may call it a vision. So now, why do I say that Star Trek will replace religion? Okay. The present religion that we have today, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, kind of, I'll put it aside, and the other religions, they all talk about God, right? And especially Christianity, I think that they do not do justice to God. Because I'm a Christian. The way I was brought up is, in fact, everybody knows that Christianity deals with God and the earth. They focus, God is about the earth and the people on earth. And that's it. They do not recognize or put emphasis on the other creation of God, meaning the universe, how magnanimous, how gigantic, how mind-boggling, how, I don't know the word to use it. In other words, religion, to me, has reduced God to a personal level. God is all about us, we're special, it's about the earth, and nothing else exists. But Star Trek, on the other hand, has opened up what God, the other things that God has created. With Star Trek, we're talking about galaxies, we're talking about black holes, we're talking about, yes, pure astronomy, and more than that, right? With Star Trek, it reveals that it's the same God that created all these billions and billions of galaxies. It's the same God that gave us that knowledge to find means of traveling beyond the speed of light. And by the way, I know some people are going to say, yeah, you talked about Siri, you talked about Alexa, 3D printing, but look at us, we still cannot go beyond the speed of light. Well, folks, right now as I'm talking to you, there are experiments being carried out in a lot of laboratories, and it's a matter of time. It's a matter of time before humanity discovers a faster way of traveling. That is, nobody would doubt that. The European Center for Research, the one in Chicago, even Livermore, all of them are in serious research on how to make breakthroughs in this. And by the way, on Star Trek, they teleport, right? They do teleportation. There have been a series of experiments carried out already, albeit on a molecular level, but it's been done. Now you see that Star Trek has opened up a big, has thrown a light on what God created and left for us. Whereas the religion that we practice today has brought God down to earth and makes it smaller, right? Giving God human qualities and that. Whereas Star Trek itself is opening us up and magnifying God even bigger. So I think that in the future, we are going to be more, in tune and discover and be acquainted with what God put in already. And because all this have been created. So that's my topic today. I would like you to give me feedback, please, because this is a topic that's going to be evolving. And then we're going to be talking about it. The more I get feedback, the more we engage. Thank you.